a little breezy today, so sorry for the noise, but ta-da! So there's all of our computers and wiring and I don't know, 30-40 pounds of bullshit. And here's how we're looking in here now. Clean as fuck. So now we just gotta get busy on hacking out I guess those leaves of metal that are there, and pick up our replacement metal. Start working on that. But we're looking pretty clean, you know. As we are over here, I still got to deal with those old brake lines and get rid of all that junk. But we're making some progress here. Got rid of all the wiring and all the BS that was here, and the old splash guards stuff, really unnecessary. Just kind of just cleans up the whole thing. Anyway, check with you later. Alright, ladies and gents, so we went to the weld shop today and we picked up a new bateau. Even got a fancy new cap, voila. Got some wire and some tungsten and some other things we needed. But I wasn't able to get a hold of any 20 gauge sheet metal. They only sell it in like 4x8 foot sections, which we don't need, and the local shop is unwilling to cut it down to smaller sections so we can get it to the house. Excuse me. So anyway, while we wait on that part and figure that out, I figure why not finally get around to cleaning this engine, you know, pulling it apart, cleaning all the parts, reassembling it, and getting it actual first start ready. So that's what we're going to go ahead and start doing now. The hurricane came through and tore off all the tape that I had over the inlets for the intake. I mean, blew up all kinds of stuff on the underside of the engine, because I mean, obviously I was still working on the oil pan, so all of that's got to come apart. And yeah, so that's where we are. So yay! All right, ladies and gents. So I know that I hop around with what I choose to do on my car a lot, but scatterbrainedness, what can you do? Anyway, so yesterday I decided, since I couldn't get a hold of the sheet metal that I wanted to repair the transmission tunnel there just yet, that I'm just going to go ahead and pull the engine apart and start getting it cleaned up. It's been sitting here filthy for months because I just didn't want to deal with it. The hurricane came through and loaded it up full of dirt and all kinds of other crap, and so I finally get around to it. And I mean, I've never done this before. I've never built an engine. I've never had an engine sitting, you know, so I mean, there are things you don't think of. Well, so water got into the engine via those open ports in the valves, and it was sitting in 4 of the piston bores, right? And you can, I mean, even if you're just looking at it, you can see the marks on the pistons there, right? So the engine isn't seized, but there was a significant amount of rust sitting in a couple of the cylinders. So let me see if you guys can see this, but look at that one. Okay, you see that down there, that dark area? That's where the rust was sitting. And this one feels smooth. It feels fine. But on the other side, there's a little bit of a ledge. And I'm not sure what to do with it. I'm not sure if it's acceptable. I'm not sure if I can just ride on, you know, with it or not, because right here I can feel it, and I don't know if that's like a 1,000th or what, right? I don't understand. I mean, you know, how critical certain tolerances are and certain edges. So I'm gonna have to pull this whole thing apart and just take it back to the machine shop and have him bore it out and see what he says, you know. I mean, if it means, you know, they gotta go over and I gotta get new pistons or something like that, I'm gonna be pissed off. But we're just gonna have to do what we have to do. You know, mistakes, and this is what you gotta deal with. So kind of tragic, because I was hoping to just be able to pull it apart, clean everything up, and put it back together and get it sealed up, because now I have the oil pan done and all. I have the intake cover and all that stuff, but it is not to be. Also, we got a broken bolt there that we got to extract, so that's gonna be fun. But anywho, I'll check in with you guys later. I'll let you know what they say. Hey guys, check this out. This engine is just a gift that keeps on giving. This is a brand new engine timing set. I mean, it was brand new when I bought it. What the fuck is this? For real? I mean, the engine hasn't even run yet. That's some bullshit right there. Alright, homies and homettes. I know I'm lame. Anyway, couldn't really decide on what to do today because the other day, we just ended up completely taking apart this motor here. I mean, short of the crankshaft. Just trying to inspect everything. It's going to go to the machinist later. I figured since I'm going to be down probably a couple weeks on that, then I went ahead and took all this stuff out here and sent it off to the powder coaters. I didn't notice any deflection from the frame when I pulled it apart, so I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. Once we bolt everything back together in the appropriate place and then set it on the wheels, it should level itself out, and then we can get to fabricating our tube front end. Don't want to do it while it's up on jack stands because the frame could be off or askew. While I've been poking around, digging around, trying to figure out how to get rid of this, how to replace this stripped bolt that broke off in the frame under here, I just started noticing that the vast majority to hell. This car did not lead a, how would I say, gentle life. It was ridden hard, I'm guessing. So I went ahead and started removing some of the access panels and taking a look around on what I saw, and I didn't like what I saw. So the stock gas tank was rusted, the lines are rusted, the bolts are rusted, the connections are rusted. I'm like, no, we're not dealing with that, because when I have to adjust things or put new fuel lines or change the pump or any of that nonsense, I foresee a great deal of broken bolts, stripped out things, and just bleh. Not to mention, you know, is the thing still even, you know, airtight as far as, you know, holding the fuel? No telling. So I just dropped it all, cut it all out. So no fuel tank, no lines, none of this, I don't know, 20-30 pounds of fuel junk that was right here in the back corner. And then went ahead and cut out this floorboard here that held the spare tire and all that, because we're going to end up welding in some braces across to create a frame, and then putting in a fuel cell. So yeah, I mean, it seems like every time I go to do something small, I end up running into a bunch of old and just destroyed and worn out stuff on this vehicle that needs to be replaced, and then it turns into an epic quest. How many more things do we need to replace or fix or create problems, you know, where we didn't need to? But it's okay. I mean, this is a long-term project and I'm committed to it. So we're just gonna keep chipping away at stuff and you know, slowly but surely, you know, building a brand new car from scratch. Anyway, wow, right? But I guess this kind of puts us in a good position to, I don't know, tube the rear as well. We have plenty of access back here now. I mean, if I wanted to build a cage, this would probably be an opportune time to do it. Well, everything is still in pieces and everything is much more accessible than you typically would have it. You know, I'm not having to climb inside the trunk or bend over or break my back in this instance. Everything's just out in the open. So we're gonna see what we can do, but we'll check back in with you guys later. Okay, so another one of our small projects that we're gonna try and do here is we're gonna try and get this engine bay cleaned up and one solid color. So while we have the engine out of here and there's nothing else in the way, we're going to see about dealing with all these brake lines, just this filthy situation here, because why not? Also, according to the rule book for Formula Drift, we don't need to have this much of an extension of frame rail. So probably cut a little bit more weight and get a little bit less of this jagged ass metal that's, you know, out there, just out of the way, so we have more working space. But as far as the rule book goes, you cannot cross the physical boundaries of the mounting point of the subframe. So we don't have any forward lateral arms like on a 240SX where like it branches forward, which pushes forward the mounts. For us, it's straight across from here. So we should be able to cut from this point forward. But we're going to give ourselves a few inches just to play it safe. So I'm thinking just past the edge of this little transition here. So like right about there, give ourselves a few inches of clearance. We're going to cut from there. And that will be that'll be where we start our plating system for the lower portion. Still up in the air about whether we can cut this part back. Again, you know, the rule book isn't exactly clear. So if they mean chassis mount points in like the frame rails, and they only mean this lower portion, then we're good. I can cut it back to this portion here, where it's, you know, it's wider and gives us more surface area to mount a plate and distribute load. If not, then we gotta plate it from here, or just not use this portion and plate the here. So we'll see, but I'll get back to you guys. Alright, ladies and gents, how's it going? So it's a beautiful Florida day, despite how ravaged our area looks and how junky my porch is. I mean, that's on me. I mean, look at all that stuff I pulled out there. Anyway, I just wanted to get a little video of this. I just bought some goodies. We're going to be doing some more cleaning up of the engine bay, getting rid of all this, well, most of these old lines, and yeah, the master cylinder, brake booster. I'd like to get it all cleaned up so that I can get the transmission tunnel there welded up and cleaned up, and then I can paint this bay back to a nice color. I mean, I like the green, but it's really not going to go with you know, the stuff I'm doing to other parts. I'm not sure what color I'm going to go with yet, but all else fails, you can't go wrong with a nice coat of black. So that's probably what we're going to do here. Anywho, we'll check back with you guys in a little while. Good morning, everybody. As usual, it's a disastrous mess over here. But, so, yesterday our fancy little brass bushing came in the mail. So we're getting to that today. When you get it, it comes completely round, at least this one did. So in order to get it past the, I'll show you in a second, some of the pushed out portions of the rod, you have to like slot the sides here, which doesn't affect its function. It just makes so you can get it past in there. This one is actually really well made. It slid right in without any issue. It's nice, firm, and replaces this old plastic one that I pushed out of here. So here's the old plastic one. As you can see, there's some wear. I mean, it's real thin. It's pretty worn. Came out relatively easy. Just used a little pick. Didn't really give me all that much trouble. But here's the new one, right? Oh, sorry. So yeah, okay. Hard to do through the camera. But see, and there's no play. I mean, it'll rotate in the socket or whatever, but as far as like side-to-side action, there isn't any. It's firm. So that's nice, and that'll hold us over for a good while. And it was like $18 or something like that. I mean, a bit much. I'm pretty sure you could find it somewhere else, and I wonder if it's even specifically made for this, or it's just they just found a part that fit. I don't know, but this should be one of the last little links in our shift train there that gets everything feeling nice and smooth. So we're going to go ahead and lay down some, we'll clean this up first, and then we'll lay down some new RTV and seal it back up and forget about it. Alright, man. Check you guys later. Okay, quick little additional note. It seems like either the head of the ball is thicker than the rest, or the top lip of this bushing is tighter than the lower portion to keep the cup in place. So it doesn't want to go in, but I didn't hammer the bushing. What I did was I put the bushing inside the socket. Let's see. Come on. In the hole. Okay. So anyway, put the bushing inside the socket. Set this on top of it with the rod or the selector inside the hole, and just gave it a couple of taps with my little hammer. And I'm not hard. I mean just little light taps, and it pushed it right past that upper portion and into the socket, and that's all she wrote. So we're good to go on that one. Now I just got to put on the RTV and seal her back up. But that's all there is to that one. Easy peasy bushing replacement. Alright, so this morning we're working on our plates for the front end. So we're going to close up the frame rails here. So we got the upper frame rail and the lower one there. So we're going to go ahead and mock up our plates and get them cut. I already did the upper portion here. Now I've already test fit this. That covers that up really well. It's very close. Minimal adjustments will be made later. And I already tried it on the other side in reverse. It fits perfectly. So we're going to go ahead and I probably ended up cutting a little bit too far back here. Wasn't paying attention to this transition, but it doesn't. We'll close it back up and then we'll deal with all the seams here, get those nice and tidy. Anywho, this is where we're at, so keep on trucking, right? Turn that off. Good morning. So, today's been an interesting day. I guess my big shout out is, hey, don't be afraid to work with what you got. So I don't have a MIG machine, but I'm trying to weld plates on to the end of these frame rails. And I mean, it took me a little while to figure out the motion. And the cool thing about it is these plates are slightly oversized for their holes. So what I ended up with is ooh, I did that backwards. What I ended up with is the ability to roll that edge and do welds that kind of move that extra material over onto here. So it's like this side-to-side motion that just, you know, helps me with not burning through. And these frame rails are actually fairly thick material, so I mean, it works out pretty well. And needless to say, they came out pretty good. So this is plate 1 here. And this is, I was struggling with this a little bit, trying to figure it out. Missed a little spot there, I'll have to come back and get that. But it came out good. And then there's this one here. Oops, there we go, get it in focus. So there's a couple blowout areas that we have to fix, but nothing drastic. Overall, I'm pretty happy with that. It's solid, it's a continuous bead all around. And this one here is just the, you know, the additional plate. It's already welded in place, so I mean bolted in place, so I don't lose it later. Now on this one here, I did that completely backwards, but it's not gonna hurt anything. I'll just flip it over like so and just weld it in place, and it doesn't really change much of anything considered because these are like mostly square anyway. So this is how we should have looked. That goes to show you, don't be in such a hurry. Make sure you're doing things correctly. I'm not going to go ahead and break these loose. This shape is not super duper dependent on the proper positioning, really. This is just fine. This will work out. Now if this was different, I'd be cussing a little bit and I'd have to fix it, but we're okay. We're good. So we're going to go ahead and continue on, and I'll check back in with you later. Alright guys, so here we are. This is about an hour's worth of work, believe it or not. So got 2 identical plates. I mean, completely identical. And Matched them up to both sides, so worked great. Cutting out the plates simple enough. Grinding them to shape, that takes a little doing. Even with the templates, because you have to go back and forth, trying to not take too much, because it's easy to take metal away, not so easy to put it back. Anywho, part of the issue also was leveling out this surface that I'm trying to weld to here. They were, you know, they were cocked out, you know, like this or wobbly, and we got them pretty dang flush now. Here we go. You know, you put some tack welds on and give them the old hammer too a couple times, and it should be nice flush. But these will be some sharp looking plates, you know. Get those on there, then even out these seams here, and then stitch weld them, because we're kind of getting up to the point where the seam sealer is. Hang on. A lot of cleanup trucks running through at the moment. But yeah, we're getting up into the seam sealer, and that's going to have to go. I mean, it's useless anyway. Once we break these spot welds too, there's nothing holding this together, so we're going to have to re-stitch weld this area, which is fine, straighten it up. It's going to be the same deal down here. More than likely, I'm going to cut down this ridge, this raised ridge here, or, you know, at least take some of it off and then re-weld it. This one should be a great deal easier. All we're going to do is just a basic square. Oop, a basic square. You know, not trying to get all fancy like that one up there, but we'll get this going. Interesting here, I didn't know that the subframe mounting had an inner spacer there. That's cool. Anyway, we'll check back in with you guys later. Alright, ladies and gents, we in there. Look at that. I mean, it ain't pretty and polished up yet, but it's man, that looks good right there. I mean, it's all done. Let me close that. No, that's not a hole, that's a bolt hole. But we got them all done. So next is cutting back these seams here and then stitch welding them, and then this will be done. I'm pretty damn tickled with this. It went really well. I was expecting this to be a tremendous ass pain, and it went great. So we'll be back. Alright guys, we're done. So it took a few hours, but I'm not upset about it. We kicked some butt today. So here's our plate. So welded all the way around. Ground back these edges that are real sharp, so that I'm not catching ourselves and cutting ourselves as we maneuver around the bay. Hammered down a lot of these edges and straightened them out, because they were all over the place. And I'm sure they were like that from the manufacturer, but everything's nice and even now. This whole area here is actually single layer, which is interesting. So the dual layer had to been from, you know, the wheel well and other portions that had already been removed. So this is single layer up to here, then it's dual layer. So I beaded that up, so that's welded together. Down here, there's some areas that I messed up and cut all funky. Like, I'll grind it out prettier later, but I welded it back together. Ooh, welded them back together and filled it in. There's 4 layers of steel here, or 3. Well, 4 right here. So these have all been fused and stitch welded every so often. There's no need to go solid. Just want them to, you know, be held together. Dug out all of the rubber and plastic and stuff. Went all the way around this here. The plate for the removable bumper that's going to be coming in here is again held in place so I don't lose it, because I would, like, yeah, even if it was right in front of my face, I would lose it. Same deal here. So stitch welded, and they came out nice. This is all done with a TIG, mind you, so it was a bit of a challenge. Ground clean, welded all the way through, all the way around. Hammered everything down nice and flush, ground the edges, so we're good. Today's project is a success. It's quite a bit of work. It doesn't seem like much, but especially with a TIG machine as opposed to a MIG, welding all of this sheet metal up without blowing it away is quite the challenge. Very delicate, time consuming. But I'm very pleased with what we got done, and we're ready. So whenever we get our tube bender in that we ordered, dang, giving away the secrets. We can go ahead and get started. So all ready. The lower portion here is going to be bolted. This portion up here, I'm going to use a dowel. So we're going to have like a 1-inch tubing on the upper end, and then 1.5 inch in the front. But there'll be a dowel here with a quick release pin on the top, and so it'll just be the bolts on the bottom holding it, well, locking it in place. The dowel pin with the safety, the dowel with the safety pin will hold it as well. But anyway, we'll get back to you guys later when we have more to do. Should be some parts coming back soon, for some pretty stuffs. But yeah, I don't want to spoil everything. We'll check back in with you guys in a few days. Alrighty, we'll have to excuse the positioning of the sun, but that looks a whole lot better. All clean, pretty much nothing there. Yeah, we can work with that. Alright. Be back later.